Does anyone remember, okay, we got to think back in the day. Does anyone remember Hurricane Harvey? Anyone? Harvey? Hey, seriously, show of hands. Did anyone's home get flooded by Harvey? Mine did. Y'all's house get flooded? Sorta. Yeah. Anybody have to like move out of their house? Yeah. I feel y'all's pain. Yes, I feel your pain. Dude, I gotta be real honest with you though. When the weather started saying there's a hurricane coming, I got really excited. I know it's dumb, but listen to me. The reason I got excited was I'm from Arkansas and I've never been through a hurricane. Like we just have tornadoes where you're sitting in your house 1 minute and the next minute, like your house is gone and you're standing out in your underwear and most of your house is on a Waffle House parking lot, like across the interstate. Like that's how I grew up. But they're saying a hurricane's coming and I was like, this is awesome. And so that first night where it kind of made landfall and it started raining a little bit, I got all excited. So I said, Ashley, get your phone. We're going to go make some weatherman videos. So I went out and I was out in the backyard and it's out there by the pool and it's got a little drain and like it was barely raining. And so she was filming me and I had on rubber boots and like a raincoat. And I was just going, as you can see, the water's really starting to build up right here by this drain. It's really getting deep right here. And there wasn't even any water there. I was just making fun of the hurricane because once again, I'd never been through one. So I'm thinking, if this is all a hurricane is, this is nonsense. About 3 hours later, I put my boots back on and I went outside and the water was 1.5 feet from my front door. Like it had gone from there's no water to holy moly, we're all gonna die. Right? I don't know if you remember, but like that's where I was. I was like, yeah, we're gonna die. And so, but I was gonna film it, so I had my phone out and I'm documenting it. I'm just putting it up on Instagram and Twitter and junk, and everybody's laughing at me. And then all of a sudden that night at like 11 o'clock, like it came in the house. Like actually, we kept thinking it was coming in the back, but then. Or coming in the front door, we thought it's coming in the front door. It's coming in because we were like watching it. It's like just terrifying water of death coming at us. And then Ashley's like, hey babe, because that's how she talks. She said, hey babe, I think there's water back here in this bathroom. And so I ran back over to the bathroom in the back of the house and sure enough, there was water like coming in the wall. And I was like, oh, this is the beginning of the end. This is where we perish. And I hugged her and I told her to take care of the kids. And I walked up to the front of the house. By the time I got to the front of the house, the floors, I could hear the water under the floors. They were squishy. I just put down new floors like a month earlier. Like not paid to have someone put down new floors, but I had just put down new floors. I had gotten on my knees on the whole bottom floor of our house and put down new floors all over our house, only to have Harvey pee all over them. So we went upstairs and we went to bed. I mean, we literally just went upstairs and went to bed while there's water coming in our house. I was laying up there. I just heard a big splash. And I was like, that sounded like a bass. It wasn't. Ashley goes, did you hear that? And I was like, yeah, I think it's that chair that we had setting up on that deal. I think the chair fell off into the water. And she said, are you going to go see? I said, babe, there's nothing I can do at this point. We're just going to have to let that chair go until that chair, we'll get him another one sometime. So we woke up that morning and we had 15 inches of water in our house. About almost 1.5 feet of water everywhere. And everything on the bottom floor was just completely ruined. And so Allison actually called us and she said, hey, she said, you want me to send a boat? And I was like, yes! Of course I want you to send a boat. Please, you send a whole bunch of boats. This is going to be exciting. So she said, okay, get ready. I'm sending a boat. And then we waited and we waited and we waited. And then I began to think, maybe Allison wants us to drown. Maybe she's not sending us a boat. This is the end. So I hugged my wife. I told her to take care of the kids. We just did that all over again. And finally the boat came and the boat pulled right up to my front door of my house. Like up to the front door of my house, the boat did. It was the weirdest thing ever. and we got in the boat, and we just went driving down the road, like down the street that I normally drive my automobile truck on. We were just cruising down the street like it was that gum river. And we just kept going, and there was other boats, a lot of boats out in our neighborhood. All the boat driver guys, they were just waving at the other boat guys like it was a fishing tournament. And it's me and the 3 kids, and we got Bailey the dog. Love you, Bailey. So and now the boat gets up to like a certain point. Now it's still deep, and he goes, "This is as far as we can go." And I'm like, "No, it's not. There's plenty of water. Gas it." He goes, "Nah, man, I don't want to mess my motor up. This is it." So we got out, and it was about this high on me. Up to Reese, our little girl, it was up to about there on her. She had a snorkel, it's fine. And I'm holding the dog, and we're just walking down the road. We don't even know where we're going, but it was so exciting. I really was. I was like, this is the best day of my life. And the water kept getting shallower and shallower, and it got up to where it was just like, I don't know, about ankle deep. And some girl was walking down this direction, just like she just had a plate of cookies. This is the sweetest. Maybe she was an angel. We don't even know if she was real. But them cookies was. So she's walking the cookies down, and she's like, "Do you want cookies?" And I was like, "Yes, I want cookies." And Bailey was like, "Hey, I want a cookie." And I was like, "I will take you back to the water, put you back on the boat." It's like Noah. So it was exciting, man. And I was documenting the whole thing. You can go back on my Instagram feed and watch the whole deal happen. And it was so much fun for like a week. And then we finally got back to our house. And I remember walking in the first time I got back to the house, and I was there by myself, and I just looked around our house, and it was ruined. Like all of the floors that I had just put down had all floated up and were just in piles and everywhere. All our walls were falling apart. That chair of doom was flipped over and ruined. And that was in August of last year. And over the weeks and months, I went from being really excited about finally getting to be in a hurricane to becoming very clinically depressed. I began to wonder, will we ever get back in our home? We were living in another house way outside of town, almost 30 minutes outside of town, and we were having to go back and forth to get the kids to school. And I would sit in the house at night by myself because we had some equipment in there that I needed to watch. And I would just sit in my living room in a folding chair at like 1, 2 in the morning, just staring. And I became just a mess. Ashley and I's relationship began to fall apart. And finally in January, we went to this place in Austin. It's like a counseling place for couples. And we went, and we were there for like a week. And there were 3 other couples there with us. And they began to, all these other 3 couples from all over the country, they had different problems. And we were the only ones there that had dealt with Harvey. And we just started to kind of deal with some of our issues. Because I had come to the conclusion that I was just a complete wreck. And I was never going to get any better. See, it wasn't just Harvey. I just, in my being, just felt like something was wrong with me. And I wonder if you've ever been there. I wonder if when you lay in bed at night, those are the things that you're thinking, you're just wondering, is there anything really wrong with me? Like, I just don't feel normal. Maybe it's depression, maybe it's anxiety where you're anxious, you get nervous, you get worried, you get fearful. But you know you don't want it there. You know you don't want it to be a part of your life, but it just seems like it's just going to be there. You maybe never seem happy. In fact, listen, there's a guy out in California that has this research center and treatment center, and he runs this program called the Teenage Brain Program. Now that sounds like scary. Like if you went in there as just a bunch of teenage brains, right? But look, here's what his stats say. He's been doing this for years. He's been dealing primarily with teenagers like you for years. And here's what he says. He says only about 5 to 10% of teenagers, watch this, are emotionally healthy. 5 to 10% of teenagers are emotionally healthy. So here's why that happens. Picture with me. Have you ever been to like a friend or somebody's had a baby, or maybe your parent had a baby and you're like the older sibling, and you go up to the hospital to see the babies, but the baby's not in the room. The baby's in like the nursery room, and like there's a window, and like you can just walk up to the window and see all of the little babies. Most guys haven't ever been. So I got a picture of kind of what it looks like. We got that. Okay, see, there's little babies. And they're named. They put their names on them so they don't mix them up, because all little babies look the same. You don't want to go home with somebody else's baby. Aren't they cute and peaceful? Look, they're all resting. They're all swaddled up, comfy and cozy and warm. And probably whoever it is that took that picture, there's probably a bunch of adults on the other side of that window going, hey, hey. Which is pointless, because obviously they're all asleep, right? These guys are idiots talking to nobody. Now just imagine, okay, this is fixing to get weird, but just imagine if the doctor went in and he took a keyboard in, and he took the keyboard and he went in and he did a little procedure where he took this keyboard and he just plugged it into the brain of these little babies. Gross, that's so gross, but just imagine. Just plugs it right in. Doc just makes a little slot right there, like a bloop, and just plugs it in. And then watch this. Then just starts like programming, just like writing code and putting stuff in the baby's brain. And for the rest of this little baby grows up, and for the rest of its life, you know what's going on is somebody's putting programs in this little baby's brain. Because that's what's actually happening without the keyboard being plugged up to your head. From the time we are born, from the time you were born, and you were in that little thing in the hospital, unless your parents were like hippies, and then they just had you out on the back porch. I don't know what your background is. But from the time you were born, everything that you have seen and heard and felt and smelled has been putting programs into your brain and telling your brain what's important, what's not important, telling your brain what to be scared of, what to run from, what to run to, telling your brain what feels good, what makes you sad. Like from the time you were born, even before you were born. That's why you see people that are like big old pregnant, and like big old pregnant ladies, and people come up and go, hey little baby, I know you hear me in there, little baby. Stop doing that. But even then, even before they're born, they can begin to hear these signals, and all it is this. And so from birth until now, your life has been people, some parents, some strangers, friends, yourself. And all that's been going on is it's just been pumping your brain full of stuff. And now not all of those words, not all of the coding, the programming is positive. Right? In fact, a lot of it is negative. And a lot of it you feel like you don't even have control over, because even when you're just listening to yourself talk, like not like out loud, don't do that. But like in your head, right? That's where most of your conversations during the day happen, is right in here. Even those are just involuntary. The vast majority of your thoughts are involuntary. They're just happening whether you want them to or not. And so many of those thoughts, in my case, were negative. And so for birth, my brain's been getting programmed, and and all my little brain parts up there have been like connecting to each other and firing together, and every little signal that comes in either makes this little bond over here in my brain stronger, or it goes to find another little bond and makes it stronger. And so then when I'm 13 and I'm in the baseball dugout and I pull a funny trick because I can spit water out of the side of my mouth that direction because my teeth are all jacked up and my parents didn't get me braces. I got a retainer. I lost it. They didn't get me another one. So I got some crooked teeth down here. Not ashamed of that. But and I shot water in the dugout right straight out the side of my mouth and got it all over Bart. It was flipping hilarious. He didn't know where it was coming from. He just thought it was magical water coming out of the sky. And he looked over at me, and I kind of giggled. And I was like, ha ha! It's me, dude. And he looked at me, and he was the best player on the team. His dad was our coach. He was our pitcher. He was the only guy on our team who could hit home runs. And he looked at me and said, "You're a loser, Neely. And you're always going to be a loser." And I was like, "Maybe you are the loser." Boom. That's pretty good, right? I was pretty funny and quick back then too. But what happened in that moment, watch this, what happened in that moment is Bart had my keyboard and he just typed out, "You are a loser." And I found myself later that night and the next day or two typing out, "I am a loser." In fact, it got so bad that I got scared to do anything. My mom was very concerned about my well-being. There was about a 6-month stretch where I thought I was going to die every day, like a crazy fear of dying. Like I thought I was going to choke, so I stopped eating. I thought we were going to be in a car accident, so every time I got in the car, I would get down in the floorboard. Now, I was not 5 years old. I was like 13. And I was terrified to be in the car. I was scared of storms. And we brought this up in Austin. We're in this counseling thing in Austin, and we're supposed to be working on our relationship and our marriage. And before I know it, I'm talking about Bart and spitting water in his face and being scared to eat cheese. Because, that's cheese is hard to swallow, y'all. I'm not gonna lie, if anything was gonna kill me, it was cheese. I was convinced cheese was trying to kill me. I'll get you, cheese. I will grate you and cut you and stab you. Put you on a toothpick, cheese. And that just kind of stuck with me through life and kind of followed me around. And there was this program put up in my brain by Bart and then by myself that maybe I'm a loser. Well, about 10 years ago, I had this crazy idea. I went to my friends and I said, "Hey, we should start our own church." And they were like, "That's nuts." "Yes, let's do it." So we went down to downtown Little Rock, which is where I was living. We went to Little Rock, and we went right in the middle of downtown where all the craziness is, and we said, "We're starting a church down here." And at first it was great. People were talking about it. People were coming. People were actually coming to our church. Magazines were doing stories on us. It was so much fun. And then after about 3 years, something weird happened. Like, all of my friends that originally went with me just started leaving. Because I was a bit of a mess. I'd been having panic attacks. When we left our church to start that new church, some of the guys at that church just didn't quite treat us right, and I felt like I'd been betrayed, and people were making up lies about me and about us, and I couldn't get over it. So I was having these crazy panic attacks where I'd just be driving down the road and like my head would go numb. That's exciting. Or scary. When you reach up and you can't feel your head, that's not good at all. So I was freaking out, and I was staying in the bed all day, and I was scared to go outside. So I wasn't leading very well the church. I wasn't, and once all the fun stuff stopped and we kind of got back to normal, just everyday church stuff, I just wasn't very good at it. And so one at a time, these guys that came with me sat across tables from me and said, "Hey, dude, man, we can't stay here anymore, man. You're killing us. I got to get my family out of here." So here I am now, not just thinking I'm a loser, but about 6 months after this started happening, we just left. That's why we're in Houston. We just left. We had to start all over because I felt like a failure. I'm not just a loser, but now I'm a failure. And that whole experience was just typing that into my head. You're a failure. You're probably going to be a failure. And so then we come here and I keep trying to get better. Like I kept trying to just work my way out of it. So I was a student guy over the Jones Road campus for about 2.5, 3 years. And I wasn't doing very well at that. So you know what I'm thinking? I'm a loser. I'm a failure. And so I'm just carrying this thing around with me everywhere. And every bad thing that happens, I type it in, it goes in my brain, and it goes and finds all the other things that have gone wrong with me. And they all high five, and they hug it out, and they're so excited because they all love to hang out and talk all day long about me being a loser, about me being a failure, about how I'm probably never going to amount to much. And then Harvey hits. And after all the fun stuff happened when I was sitting in my living room by myself at 2 o'clock in the morning, I began to have the thought that, well, I guess I deserved this. I guess I had this coming. And then I just broke. I did. I just broke. And it wasn't until we were in Austin, I had a lady, one of the counselors, she looked at me and she said, Darren, your brain is broken. And I said, that is not very encouraging, counselor lady. I thought you were supposed to help me feel a little better about myself, and you just told me something that I kind of already knew. And she goes, no. Like it's actually broken. She said, your brain has wired, your whole life has wired your brain in such a way that it only wants to see and to hear and to feel the negative images and the negative thoughts and the negative words. It thrives on them. And then she said something crazy. She said, but you don't have to stay like that. Now, I didn't believe her. I was like, whatever, lady. My brain's broke. It's always going to be broke. I'm not paying for surgery to unbroke it. I'm just going to have a broke brain. And she said, no. She goes, let me tell you a little something about your brain. She said, your brain can actually be fixed. I was like, okay. And she said, you don't have to have surgery. Like they have found out, like in the last 15 years, that your brain can actually be changed. Like up until that point, up until like 15 years ago, seriously, they thought that once you got to about 20, 25 years old, however your brain had all come together and all the little things that connected, then that was it. For like all of eternity, that's what we've thought about the brain, and they've started scanning it and doing all this stuff over the last 15 years, and they're like, that's not the case at all. In fact, the crazy science word, ready? The brain science word is called neuroplasticity. So say that with me. Say neuroplasticity. Let's say it again like we love it, like it's our favorite team. Neuroplasticity. And it's this science word that just simply means your brain is flexible and can rewire itself. And you don't have to be, for the rest of your life, Darren, you don't have to be caught up in the negative, thinking you're a loser, you're a failure, and you deserved your home to get destroyed. So 3 quick things and I'm done. You're going to talk about it in your group. 3 quick things. How do we do that, Darren? How do we do that? Because some of you are sitting here going, yes. I need my brain changed. I need a complete brain transplant. Maybe that's what some of you are thinking. So how can you do this? This is some stuff I'm learning. You ready? First thing I wrote down was this. You got to protect your keyboard from other people. You've got to protect your keyboard from other people. Here's what I mean by that. You have to be very careful who you're listening to, what you're watching, and whose opinion matters to you. See, I thought Bart was awesome. Why? Not because he was a good person, but because he was good at baseball. That's not a reason to let him say things that will stick with me for the rest of my life. So here's some practical things. Hey, look, if you have friends around you that are always negative and critical, cut them loose. Cut them loose. Because they're being negative and critical, and all the time they're constantly putting that stuff into your head. If you follow people online on one of the amazing online platforms that's always running everybody down and negative and Debbie Downer and has something wrong with everything in the world, stop following them. They'll know. Okay. They'll know. You've got to protect your keyboard. You've got to protect the things that are coming into your mind. If all you listen to is trash music, turn it off. And that's a tough one for teenagers because you don't want to be the only person at school that doesn't know that one song when it comes on. But you got to determine, is it more important to be cool and to be liked? Or is it more important to be one of the 5 to 10% that are healthy emotionally? So first thing, protect your keyboard. Second thing, Control H. Write that down. I don't have to explain that one, do I? Control H. Here's what Control H does on your keyboard. If you hit Control H while you're writing a paper, a little Word document, and you hit Control H, what that does is it's the replace feature. So if you wrote a paper and like you were reading it, and then you realized that you misspelled the same word every time, like some ridiculous word, like cars, like you keep missing it, like you keep messing that word up, you can go in there and highlight cars, Control H it, and then you can tell it everywhere in that, even if you wrote a 100-page paper, everywhere in there where you misspelled that word, you can go and Control H it and replace it with the correct word. It's an amazing tool. So watch this. For me, what I'm learning right now is I've got in my brain, there's some stuff that's really hardwired and it's a bunch of negative stuff, and I'm having to replace it daily. It doesn't just happen like this. My counselor on Mondays, I go to the Woodlands. Monday in the Woodlands. I go to the Woodlands every Monday. He doesn't like hypnotize me and make me like look like a kangaroo for a little bit and then like pop out of it like after an hour and I'm like, all right, I'm fixed. No, it's a constant Control H with me. I'm constantly trying to replace the negative stuff with something more positive. So I'm listening and I'm following more positive people on my Instagram feeds right now. I'm listening to more positive music and stuff when I'm rolling around in my car. When I watch TV, I'm not watching the news because it's the devil. The news is nothing but people being negative, telling you the world's coming to an end 24/7. And so I replace it with something way better, like Cops or something, I don't know. It's not as positive, that's worse. I just go, at least I'm not that guy with no shirt on getting arrested, right? Control H. And the last thing, you note takers, the last thing, you got to realize this, that you can start writing right now, tonight, you can start writing a whole new story for your life. And that's what I'm learning. In fact, just Monday afternoon, the last thing that Dr. Steve said to me, he said, man, you are heading down a path right now that I can't wait to see what happens through you and in your life. Because you're writing a new story with your life. A story has been being written since I was born. For 43 years, a story's been written, and it wasn't necessarily the best story. But from this day forward, I'm writing a new story. I'm putting the right stuff in my head. I'm getting rid of the other stuff. I'm replacing. I'm guarding. And my story is going to be a beautiful story that brings hope to guys like you, to girls like you, A story that brings hope, that says you don't have to stay there. You don't have to be like that. You don't have to lay in bed every single night in fear and worry. You don't have to wake up and be stricken with panic because of all the junk that you know you're going to have to deal with that day. You can write a new story.
My name is Nikita Malwani, and this message has taught me to not overthink and to remember truths about myself and my worth.
Okay, I'm Mateo Pritzko, and I really learned a lot about really override the bad stuff in your life with the good stuff, and actually stop listening to bad people, people with a bad influence. Just stay yourself, stay by yourself, and try to override the bad things with the good things, and really you become more positive about it.
I'm Grant Saracini, and this message has taught me how I don't need to be a slave to my past, and I can leave that behind.
Hi, my name is Victoria Cachola, and this message has taught me to be true to myself rather than what everyone else expects of me.